Is this man a ruthless, sword-wielding vandal?
Good morning.
Or is he just a highly motivated double-glazing salesman? And if this man is late for the booze-up, why couldn't he just bring a bottle like everyone else?
Gadzooks, verily and forsooth.
And a hey nonny no.
And a little clue there to the nature of tonight's programme, where we'll be delving into the history of the world through the eyes of the filmmakers. And where did we get to, Mel?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? Haven't you done your preparation or what?
I mean, I did the notes for it, but I haven't had time to do the essay yet.
Well, where are your notes, then?
I left them at Stringfellow's last night.
Oh. There's always one, isn't there? Well, where were we last week, then? Oh, for heaven's sake.
The Romans?
Yes, the Romans, yes. Now, last week, as I'm sure everybody else will remember, we took on the Romans and we looked at their musical habits, the Eric Clapton of his day there, their sexual habits, and their sexual habits. And after the Romans came...
The Corinthians?
No, the Dark Ages. And obviously, we have no film of the Dark Ages because...
Oh, because it was too dark, presumably.
Yes, so we're going to spool forward 1,000 years to a point when out of the Stygian murk emerged this beautiful thing.
Whistle, my love, and I will come to thee. I'll always find you, no matter where you may be.
Yes, Val Dunican and his minder, Paddy.
Yes, 1,000 years, poets have stirred the human consciousness, artists have reflected the glory of God, and England produces a pile of steaming drivel about hilltops and greenwood trees.
But what was happening in the rest of the world? Well, it seems that everywhere but England was a gigantic battlefield. In France, for example, dying knights had to make their own way to the scrap heap. He's obviously suffering from metal fatigue. There were scenes of carnage on the beaches of Benidorm due to a severe shortage of deck chairs and sun loungers. Meanwhile, in Russia, the army was stuck in Moscow trying to remember where they'd hidden the regimental razor blade.
Meanwhile, on their southern borders, the blood-chilling forces of evil were gathering.
There is no room in my tents for those who fear or question my orders.
Lord, none questions your orders.
They offer counsel, my brother. Would they fear to follow Temujin, who is without equal in battle?
Jamuga of the Silver Tongue. We attack as planned. Shaban!
Yes, Javan, the US cavalry have arrived.
The Tartar hordes, in fact, led by the vicious but likeable Lieutenant Genghis Wayne.
Lord, the woman!
You're beautiful in your wrath.
It is, it's a lovely wrath she's wearing, isn't it? And he's obviously just off to see what she's got on underneath it.
So, Genghis Wayne. To the south and to the north was this fellow, Boris the Barbarian. He lived in a tiny little country about the size of the backseat of a mini metro, in other words, too small for Mel Smith. Here he is, standing on his sofa there, defending his little plot against hordes of Ukrainian bailiffs. What happy happy soul. All he needed was his Beach Boy haircut, a crazy look in his eyes, and a 12-foot curtain pole. As we can see, he particularly hated men who let their handlebar moustaches protrude from their helmets.
Yes, the world was at war, except for England, although fighting would perhaps have been preferable to this.
And under his coat he carried a bow. All he wanted to have a merry little go in the forest of Greenlow. Robin Hood hid his eye by your cut, brethren. Little John Heister, having a nail master.
With a prat face here and a dingbat. Bloody derry down.
Yes, thank you. Yes, all right, we'll be hearing more from you later on, I've no doubt. So it is in Merry England, or Sherwood Forest, as it was then known, that all medieval history seems to take place.
This happy haven where men swung from the jungle creepers, which for some reason or other seemed to grow off the oak trees.
What's the meaning of this?
Yes, they've just been arrested by the Forestry Commission.
The Forestry Commission was one of power in the land. The other one was, of course...
Taxes. Taxes. I'll break their stiff English necks with taxes.
The Sherwood Forest Minicab Company.
No, in fact, it was the Inland Revenue, led by their chief accountant, the Sheriff of Nottingham. There were only two other towns in England at the time, London to the south, and to the north, this place. Yes, Manchester. Right. Another problem which arose in those days and is still with us in the 20th century is, of course, the postal service.
The first-class system was crude but efficient.
There was a postman every 50 yards. And he acts as a sort of one-man sorting office. He checks the address and off it heads. Hello, what's that whistling sound? Look out, everybody, here comes the post. In the pub, for example. Or even at an intimate little dinner party.
Catch him! Quickly!
Obviously, that one not marked fragile. He doesn't look too happy. It's a brown paper scroll from the Inland Revenue. But temporary postmen could be erratic. In fact, some of them were downright careless. And if you were popular at Christmas time, it could prove fatal.
Many preferred the second-class post, the big disadvantage being that you could only send one of two messages. Either, you'll be pleased to hear I've learnt to speak fluent Sparrow, or I haven't, but my horn is working. But the most reliable form of communication was the VLV method, or as we know it, the very loud voice. Here's Genghis Wayne demonstrating the first human PA system.
I, Temujin, henceforth ruler over the possessions of Wang Khan, make known to all men present and afar off, those who oppose me shall be destroyed, those who submit shall be spared.
Yes, I think his larynx is feeding back there. Not as bad as this bloke, though.
Yes, it's generally a good idea to open your helmet before you open your mouth.
What is your name? Why are you here? I am Miles Falworth.
Well, maybe not. What did he say?
He said he was Smiles Favren.
I thought he was mildly flattered.
No, I think it was mildew farted or something like that. Anyway, as we can see, medieval English or Sherwood speak could be very confusing indeed.
I know. You know, I know. I know, you know, I know. We know, Henry knows. Henry knows, we know it.
Yes, well, I'm glad somebody knows what's going on.
Others were ahead of their time.
Tell me, what's a pretty girl like you doing all alone in Sherwood Forest?
This was the period when real men used very strong language indeed.
By the rock of Moses, that's the first sensible word I've heard you say, wench. You stick to that, and by the thunders of God, there'll be no trouble.
Don't swear, Larry.
Swear? Oh, by the black fraud affair.
Please, enough. By the black rod, by the thunders of God, for heaven's sake. My mother watches this programme.
Christopher, I was right in the first place. You're a pigeon-brained half-wit.
Phew, that's a bit strong, isn't it?
I am Eleanor, Queen of England. Down on your knees, you traitorous dogs.
Madam, wash your mouth out. And wait a minute, what's this?
You stink, you know that? You're a stinker, and you stink.
Lump. The phone lines will be jammed.
But you had to go to the Tartars to find someone who really knew how to use filthy language.
A woman of Samarkand. I recognize her by the,
There are no finer dancers under the heavens.
And without comparing the arts of love. After them, all other women are like the second pressing of the grape.
Yes, it makes the young ones look pretty tame stuff to me. In fact, we'd like to take this opportunity to push the boundaries of taste back even further. You idiot!
You dog!
You stinker!
By the thunders of God, by the old Bull and Bush, by the banks of Loch Lomond, by St. Christopher, St. Michael and St. Trinians, you stink, and you're a stinker. You're like the second pressing, no, you're like the third pressing of the grape.
Lump.
There you go. I expect there'll be some letters about that.
In part two, we're going to be delving deeper into the complexities of medieval behaviour. Suffice it to say that it was a rude, good life. Everyone swore a lot and behaved badly, no matter what their status.
And as for you, young Henry III, here's my royal foot up your royal buttocks!
It takes a rather special grape to become an Alpen raisin. When it comes to wheat flakes and hazelnuts, we are, frankly, a little choosy. But then, as your first taste will confirm, not every muesli is Alpen.
For the past 150 years, Friends Provident have been helping people turn their hopes and dreams into reality. By trusting our experience, Friends Provident policyholders have continually enjoyed well above average returns. In the meantime, Friends Provident have quietly grown to become one of the largest life assurance companies in the land. And with no shareholders, the full benefit of your investment comes straight back to you. Friends Provident. You can depend on a friend.
Best meals taste terrific. Look inviting. A-okay. Tantalizing. Lick your lips. Delicious. Changing tastes. Very tempting. Full of flavor. Hot and spicy. Comes in boxes packed with taste. Vesta.
This one's mine, son.
Fiat Uno, the most wanted small car in Europe.
I'm Robin, grandson of Alfred.
Saxons! Proud, troublesome Saxons! Shall we never be rid of your insolence?
Not while my brother Edmund lies in your dungeon.
Well, we've established who the chap on the right is, the fresh, ever-youthful face of Robin of Chegwin. Obviously from up north. Like his brother, a Saxon. But who's the other chap on the left? Well, it's Fu Manchu. No, in fact, he's a Norman. And the Normans were the sort of Chelsea boot boys of their day.
We see a Norman trying to steal this old Saxon's fashionable bootlace tie. And here's a Norman and a Saxon discussing the arrangement of some Danish furniture. So, who were these people, and why were they all called Norman? Why are none of them called Colin or Reg? And do they really hate the Saxons so much? Well, look carefully at this. Yes, it's all good teen boyish fun, and rather like Saturday afternoon wrestling, no one ever really got hurt.
Even at a quick game of arrows in the pub.
And Ethelric the Unready steps up to the hockey, and it's 180!
So we've identified the Normans were on one side, the Saxons on the other. The Normans, they looked like, well, a bit like Griff, actually. Sort of small, darkish, tight features, slightly camp. Rather dour expression.
Anything
ferrety eyes, you know. General air of being just about to hit somebody, that sort of thing.
That sort of thing?
Yeah. The Saxons, on the other hand, were much more like me. They were
fat,
fair, bluff, nice, outgoing.
Bald, were they at all?
Good-natured. And, of course, the winners. Yes, I am definitely of Saxon stock.
I see, Saxon stock. Well, that's very interesting, because regular watchers of the programme will know that I have been doing my own research into this subject, and I have unearthed quite a few of Mel's actual ancestors.
No.
Yes, let's have a look at them and see how Saxon they were.
Oh, no.
Now, who is this, having a second helping at the buffet?
I haven't seen you here before. Well, we ought to get to know each other.
Yes, notice the pathetically weak chat-up line. The stout carcass bravely going topless. It's Zebediah Smith. And who's this? And who is this man here? Yes, this is Smithus Bulbus. For a change, lifting a horse rather than backing it. And finally, 3 members of the Lombardy branch of the family. The brothers Melvilio.
Right, well, if we can move on now to the more important subject.
Yes, an unholy trinity, if you like.
Yes, moving on now,
A sort
please.
of medieval Beverley sisters.
Moving on. Moving on.
Balding medieval Beverley sisters.
Will you shut up?
Of course, Your Eminence.
The easiest way to spot the difference between the Normans and the Saxons was to look at their clothing. The Norman pansy needed a ton of armour even to go down to the shops.
Now, there's just one thing they forgot to tell me in my swift initiation into knighthood.
Oh, yes?
How the hell do I relieve myself in this tin suit?
What no lost knight should be without.
A tin opener. Just as well he's not going to do number 2s, isn't it? He'd need a whole oxyacetylene welder or something.
Brutish Saxon, on the other hand, plumped for another type of garment altogether. They went in for something we can only describe as exciting underwear. It's no wonder this man's just been arrested walking around the streets like that. And here's another sensibly keeping his back to the front, as it were, in these days before the invention of the codpiece. Here's another Saxon, halfway up the tree as usual, and he couldn't even be bothered with the long johns. No tin openers for him.
So the jigsaw is coming together. What have we seen? We've seen a lot of rough and tumble, yes, but nobody really getting hurt. Everyone dressed in distinctive costumes, 2 rival groups, or should we say teams.
So there we are, rough, dirty and smelly. England was a giant holiday camp. The entire country was the Butlins of its day.
And here we have perhaps our most remarkable discovery of the whole series. An original, beautifully preserved promotional film for Roblins.
And welcome to Roblin's Holiday Camp. Why not start the day with a little light archery, taking it in turns to hold the target? Then pop along to the old castle and beat the hell out of a lump of wood. Then it's take your partners for the cross-country piggyback. Look out, Vicar, here comes the water jump. But everything stops for 11. Delicious. Cowpat pie. Plenty for everybody, but if you want to watch those calories, then why not go down to the deserted beaches of Sherwood Sands for a spot of gentle donkey riding? Or for the more adventurous, a gymkhana with a difference. Deirdre is on Merry Legs and Joanna on Tonto. Oh, whoops-a-daisy, watch what you're doing with those knitting needles, ladies. Because it's time to dish out the prizes to the losers of last night's fancy dress competition. And after tea, split into teams and throw vegetables at your favourite yellowcoat, leaving just enough time to get changed for the knobbly helmet contest. And the Normans have organised a very impressive float. It's amazing what you can do with a few kitchen utensils and a lot of ingenuity. And for those of you who get hungry between meals, then the canteen is always open for a light snack. Don't ruin your appetite, because if you skip meal times, then those diligent yellowcoats are on strict orders to make sure you eat up all your semolina. There's no room in this masculine society for the fairer sex. The best job they could hope for was as a hat check girl. Some even tried to disguise themselves as men.
By the wild bull of Bashan, it's a girl.
Yeah, it's a bit of a giveaway there, really, wearing her suspenders outside her armour like that.
Yes, the only role they could really play was that of the prize. All the excitement of a Saxon-Norman ding-dong was to gain the hand of a fair maiden. And if the hand was doing something like this, so much the better.
Harder. Don't be afraid. Ah, there. That's better.
Yes, that sometimes works for me as well. But I somehow think that chap's going to be a bit disappointed. This, after all, was the age of the chastity belt.
Now, unfortunately, despite extensive research, I haven't actually been able to find any candid shots of the chastity belt, sort of in situ. But my research has revealed that up to 50% of women were wearing them. Now, this woman obviously is wearing one, whilst her companion doesn't really need to. The woman on the left here has obviously just found out where the key is hidden. No question there, definitely with. Poor old dear, that's probably how she broke her neck trying to get it off. Now, I don't think she'd know one if she saw one. Brazen hussy. Oh dear. Yeah, I think she'd better find one pretty sharpish. And here we see a young woman just after her first fitting. What a waste.
So, after a hard day tossing his salad and fiddling with a chastity belt, the weary Norman or Saxon would head off to the camp disco, where he would dance to some of the hits of the day.
Oh, no.
Yes, I'm afraid. No. Yes, I'm afraid.
Hey down, oh down,
yes,
very merry down. Oh,
yes,
no.
We're going to have a look at our top 5 medieval videos.
Help! And zooming straight in at number 5.
The trumpet is sounding loud.
Yes, it's the Grumbleweed. No lyrics, no tune, no discernible talent. That one is in with a bullet.
Squadrons and shameless green hair.
And at number 4. The Sherwood Jousters World Cup squad, hoping to bring back the Holy Grail for the first time since 13 BC.
Down at number 3, that old favourite Demis Roussos. Unfortunately, the only copy we have is at the wrong speed. Either that or this is before he had the operation.
And number 2, our choice for video of the week. Actually, it looks a bit more of a video nasty of the week. This song is, of course, a hot favourite for next week's Eurovision Song Contest, and it's entitled Ouch, Ooh-Yah, Biff Bang. It's quite difficult to tell who is the lead singer here. It's obviously not him, anyway. Well, good luck, lads, next week, if you all manage to survive all this.
But at number 1 for the 365th week in succession...
Oh, no!
Valadunican with the...
Whistle my love.
Whistle my love. What a great song.
And I will come to thee. I hope
Well, there we are. That's all for this week. Next week, we look at the Tudors and we ask this question.
Why did this man spend so much time cutting people's heads off?
Annoying.
Well, it didn't seem to make any real difference. So my love. All together now.